changed, unfortunately. And we were desperate to try to find some way to bring relief to those who would be dreamers and were aspiring to citizenship. So we appealed directly to President Obama. I knew where his heart was. He was a co-sponsor of the DREAM Act when he was in the Senate. And he established DACA. And with DACA, some 800,000 young people across America were finally given a chance to live and work in the United States and to prove that they could be good, important parts of America's future. Take a look at it now, where dreamers are across America. Look at the jobs that they hold. Teachers, nurses, essential health workers. You find them in the nursing homes and daycare centers caring for the things that we value the most, our children and our grandchildren and our grandparents and parents. It's a commitment that they make to this country every single day to prove that we were right initially, that these young people could make America better. We need dreamers now more than ever, and we need to make sure that this Congress responds to the political reality which we are facing. Let's put the cards directly on the table. We know that it's important in December that we pass the DREAM Act, December of this year, when we return from Thanksgiving. Because if the House moves as we think it might politically, it becomes increasingly difficult after the first of the year to take up this issue. We need to do it now, and to do that, we need a bipartisan support in the United States Senate. That's the grim reality, the political reality of the moment. We need 10 Republicans who will step up and join us in this effort. I can think of 4 or 5 as I stand here. We need more. And we need to say to them, take a look at America and take a look at this last election. What happened in the state of Arizona? My friends from Arizona. Closely contested races for senator and governor. Oh, yes, honey. Join. She can join us. Closely contested races for governor and for senator, and yet, at the same time, you passed a referendum giving in-state tuition to dreamers in the state of Arizona. What that tells me is that Arizona reflects America today when it comes to the DREAM Act. 2 out of 3 Americans support the DREAM Act because they believe it's right and it's good for the future of America. And so I would say to my Republican colleagues, the lesson from this election that just took place a few days ago was extremism in the pursuit of justice is never acceptable when it discriminates against good people. Dreamers are good people, from good families, too. And we need to make sure that we remember that as we pursue this goal. We've got an opportunity. That opportunity is the month of December. I'm prepared to sit down with any Republican in the Senate who wants to talk about this issue. I'm inviting some in. We're talking privately. We're meeting and drawing our people together. We have to make sure that this is a high priority this month of December. And to make it a priority, we need the votes behind it. I'm fortunate to be chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. We're responsible for immigration bills. Since I introduced the DREAM Act, things have changed on the committee, and I've moved up a few chairs. And I happen to be in a position where I can serve on that committee and also enlist the talents of people who are really good champions on this issue. One of the best, one of the very best, was just recently reelected in the state of California, Alex Padilla. Alex was chosen by the Senate Judiciary Committee to chair the Immigration Subcommittee. I couldn't have picked a better person for that. He has devoted himself to this with constant hearings and efforts underway, and we're joining together in this same effort to make December decision month for the dreamers in the United States. I am proud to have him as a member of the committee. You should be proud to have him as a fellow advocate for this important issue. Can I introduce him?
Go ahead.
I'm going to do it right now. The chairman of the Immigration Subcommittee of Senate Judiciary, the newly elected and re-elected senator from the state of California, Alex Padilla.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Senator Durbin. He's right. I thank the people of the state of California for the tremendous honor, but it is also no coincidence because no state has more at stake in immigration policy than the state of California, given the size and diversity of our population and our economy. It is nothing other than not so much of a microcosm, but a reflection of how important it is for the nation as a whole. And so I want to start by thanking Senator Durbin for his leadership and all of our colleagues who may not be standing here right now, but are allies in this fight. And of course, United We Dream, Forward.us, and to all the dreamers and advocates that are here today, who have been here week after week, month after month, year after year, because now is the time to get this done. So I stand with all of you and Senator Durbin because we have the absolute urgency. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, everybody. Also reelected to a full 6-year term in Nevada. We're here because this is a crucial moment. We face the urgency of a running clock because of litigation. We also face the threat of a running clock because the House is on the verge of falling into Republican majority hands. Come January, it's going to be extremely difficult to get through common sense, humane immigration reform, including protection for DACA participants and all dreamers. And so the time to act is now. Dreamers deserve nothing less. It is not right that they live year after year in limbo, in fear of deportation, after all they've done to make our nation greater. The United States is home to dreamers. Dreamers who work in a number of critical and essential industries, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's as teachers, nurses, caregivers, doctors, farm workers, other essential workers. Dreamers are entrepreneurs. And collectively, as consumers, they contribute billions to our economy. Our nation is greater because of their contributions, and it is absolutely wrong to deny them access to the American dream. And so we must act. We must act now. We're calling on 10 of our Republican colleagues to have the courage to do publicly vote consistent with what they tell us behind closed doors. Now, briefly in Spanish, if I may, estamos aquí con la urgencia de proteger a nuestros dreamers. Por mucho tiempo hemos visto la política partidista que ha impedido pasar una reforma migratoria. Ya basta. Los dreamers merecen mejor. Dreamers que conocen a este país como el único país en que han vivido y que trabajan día tras día en varios sectores tan esenciales, las contribuciones de tantos que fortalecen no solo el país, pero nuestra economía, merecen mejor que vivir en el constante riesgo de deportación. Merecen mejor, merecen las protecciones permanentes para vivir el sueño americano por cual han luchado tanto. Y el tiempo es ya, porque sabemos el tiempo límite de los casos en las cortes y estamos al punto de ver un cambio de la mayoría de la Cámara de Representantes. No sé si será posible o qué tan fácil será después de este enero. Así es que ahorita es el tiempo de lograr este progreso, de por fin entregar justicia para dreamers y participantes de DACA. Muchísimas gracias. And if I can have the honor, and if I now have the honor to introduce another one of our colleagues. I mentioned she was recently reelected to a full 6-year term in Nevada because Nevada supports immigrants, Nevada supports dreamers, and we're glad to have back in this fight another one of our champions, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me just say I am so pleased to be able to not only be back here, but fighting for our dreamers and their families, and so many others, our TPS recipients, so many others. But let me just say this. 10 years ago, thousands of dreamers across the country were able to come out of the shadows and pursue their dreams in the only country they've ever known. The DACA program had allowed so many young people to go to school, to pursue careers, and provide for their families. I know because I've seen it firsthand. There are over 11,000 DACA recipients in my home state of Nevada, and thousands more dreamers. During the last administration, dreamers were demonized, and they almost lost their key protections. They're still fighting to protect their status. The program continues to face legal challenges, and it's hanging by a thread. I have always stood up for our dreamers and will continue to do so with my colleagues. Dreamers deserve a pathway to citizenship, not sometime in the future, but now. Now. They cannot continue to wait for action from American leaders. We need to keep the promises we made to American dreamers 10 years ago. Everyone in this country needs to understand this, that those who came to America in search of a better life don't diminish us, they enrich us. They enrich who we are. Their story is an American story, one of struggle, courage, and sacrifice for your community in order to build a brighter future for those who come after. Now, Nevadans, you've heard, sent me back to the Senate to fight for our families, and that includes the dreamers, who are a crucial part of our communities. We can protect them and at the same time strengthen border security. We can do both. And I am willing to work with anyone to make sure those reforms happen. We have to work together. We can get it done by the end of this year. It is time for our Republican colleagues, I hope they join us, to do the right thing. For dreamers, for our families across this country. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone standing behind us today. Thank you for all of those that continue to be in this fight. We are going to get this done. Thank you, everyone. And now, let me just say, I am pleased to be able to introduce to you our majority leader who has not given up and will continue to fight for our dreamers every single day, Chuck Schumer.
Thank you. Well, thank you. It's great to be here. And first, I want to thank my colleagues who are here, Senators Durbin, Padilla, Cortez Masto. I want to thank Senator Menendez, who's been such a great leader on this issue and has been a leader of our caucus here, who we expect to be here. I hope he will be. And all the others who participated. Senator Ben Ray Lujan has been an outstanding leader as well. I don't know if he's expected to be here today, but they're with us in spirit if they're not here in person. So let me just say this first. I believe in this so much. I believe in it in a personal basis because I know dreamers who have been such great people here in America and who have just struggled. Every time they get a phone call, every time they walk down the street, they're worried, will someone grab them and take them away? So that's personal about them and what they have done. But I also believe in it as an overall, as an American who wants to see our country be stronger, because immigrants make us stronger now more than ever. Now more than ever. We're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here. And we will be pursuing that in the next Senate. The comprehensive immigration reform. Right now, our focus is on dreamers. And we retained the Senate. And as Catherine can tell you better than just about anybody, we performed better in the Senate and better in the House than people ever expected, in good part because of the support of Latino voters.
That's right.
And I'm confident with that support in the Latino community, we're going to expand our majority by winning in Georgia on December the 6th as well. Latino voters and most Americans understand the stark difference between our values and those of Republican candidates. In the majority, Senate Democrats succeeded in improving health outcomes for Latino families. We expanded economic opportunity. We protected vulnerable communities from the dangers of gun violence. We also fought repeatedly to pass legislation that would protect dreamers, TPS recipients, farm workers, essential workers, because we believe in these people as individuals. People forget. Immigrants, undocumented, documented, have a higher rate of higher rate of employment and a lower rate of crime than average Americans. So all the BS spread by these right-wing people on nastiness is just not true. It just aggravates me. It annoys me. It worse than aggravate. I'd use a Brooklyn word, but I won't. Okay. All right. So we also fought repeatedly to pass legislation that would protect dreamers, and it was a key piece of our original legislative agenda. In fact, my office was intimately involved in pushing for a change in the registry date that would once and for all provide some sense of security to dreamers and their families. And while we've encountered roadblocks along the way to get this done, we've never stopped fighting for immigrant relief. Senator Durbin, Senator Cortez Masto, Senator Padilla, and the others I mentioned, Senator Menendez, Senator Ben Ray Lujan, and just about every person in our caucus believes in this strongly. Unfortunately, getting a fix to DACA in the Senate remains tied to our ability to secure the 60 votes. We've put proposals forth time and time again. But the election's now over, so all the BS, that was the word I was going to use, that we've heard from some of these Republican candidates, okay, well, the election's over. Now let's do the right thing. Now let's roll up our sleeves and get this done. Americans sent a clear message. They rejected the deeply anti-immigrant message of the MAGA Republicans. They said, MAGA Republicans, we don't believe in you. And one of the main reasons we don't believe in you is you divide us, and divide us by attacking immigrants. In just last week, we learned that Arizona, a purple state where the election was tight, approved a measure to extend in-state college tuition for non-citizens. That's not the politicians, that's the voters of Arizona, which has a virulent right wing, mostly who lost. But in any case, and they joined 18 other states, Arizona did, in putting this in place. Massachusetts, voters rejected a GOP effort to repeal a state law that allows undocumented immigrants to apply for a driver's license. So, on something as simple as DACA, when the public is clearly on our side in blue states, purple states, even red states, we're calling on Republican colleagues to join us. Waiting for our judicial system, hanging by a bare thread from court decision to court decision, is no way for anyone to have to live. It's cruel and inhumane to keep millions in limbo. It's past time DACA recipients feel safe in this country. So my message to Senate Republicans is this: work with us. Work with us on this widely supported policy so we can reach agreement that will protect families and strengthen our economy. Just as we passed other bipartisan accomplishments which they thought couldn't be done. Guns, veterans, chips. We can get it done here. We can get it done here. If we can get 10 Republicans to join us, we will get this done by the end of the year. It's the smart thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's the moral thing to do. It's the humane thing to do. And I want to assure everyone here, we will not stop fighting till we get a fix for DACA, a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, and a pathway to citizenship for all undocumented. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leader Schumer, Senator Durbin, Cortez Masto, and Padilla. It's such an honor to be with you today. Thank you for your steadfast leadership and your commitment to delivering for immigrants this year. My name is Greisa Martinez Rosas. I have the honor of serving as the Executive Director of United We Dream and United We Dream Action. We are the nation's largest immigrant youth-led network in the country. I have been here many times before with our old friends. I first came to Washington, D.C. in 2010. I was a young organizer in Texas and got United We Dream to pay for a bus full of undocumented young people. We came here to lobby. I stood in the Capitol gallery behind us and watched as we failed 5 votes short of passing the DREAM Act. It would have provided a pathway to citizenship for myself and for millions of undocumented youth. And at that moment, I had to face the disappointment, face the reality of what it meant to not having the DREAM Act at that time, what it would mean for our communities. And yet, we had a choice to keep fighting or give in. We kept fighting. And after that, our youth and led movement put all of our energy, all of our passion in pushing the Obama administration to enact DACA, which we eventually won. Now, over a decade later, that same program we fought for is under the precipice of demise because of Republican attacks, attack after attack. And so I am here again, having to truly never left since 2010, because we are in another moment of choice. We can choose to act and deliver much needed protection for millions of people, or we can choose to give in to the most cynical of our thoughts. Those thoughts that tell us that we can't, that we won't, that it's too hard, not this year. I invite you to all of us to join us in defying all of that and instead say, we must. We must act with urgency, knowing that undocumented young people have lived in limbo for far too long. We must leave no stone unturned, knowing that it has been over 30 years since the last time that Congress passed citizenship legislation this sweeping. We must be bold and unapologetic, knowing that the American people of Arizona, of Nevada, of New York, of Chicago, of people all across the country have said time and time again, we reject extremism. We mobilized millions of voters this election season, and we're ready for the receipts to make sure that we deliver this year. Passing citizenship for immigrant youth, TPS holders, and farm workers is extremely important. If the results of the elections last week have told us anything, is that as many of those who campaigned on fear and division against immigrants, they lost. They lost. They lost. And this is our time to finally deliver much needed relief for millions of people. Let's get it done. Now, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the immigrant young people behind me. We have come from states all across the country, as far as Alaska, Hawaii, Nevada, Chicago, all across the country, saying with one united Oklahoma, Arizona, Georgia, California, we shout them all out because we know that this is about our lives, this is about our nation's future, and this is about delivering. And so with one voice, we say, "Sí se puede? Sí se puede. Se puede? Sí se puede. Undocumented? 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 Unafraid. Let us this moment find us unafraid. And I'm going to introduce Diego Corso, a DACA recipient from Texas.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Diego Corso, and I stand here humbled with the opportunity to share my story as a DACA recipient from Austin, Texas. Thank you to the elected officials here today who are driving urgency to the issues that the DACA community is still facing. When I was 9 years old, my family made the sacrifice to leave their home country of Peru to go in the search of the American dream. I had no idea that on the pursuit of that dream would bring so many challenges and fears that I must overcome due to my immigration status. When I was a teenager, I had the grim realization that I would have to go above and beyond to be presented the same opportunities as my peers. I couldn't accept scholarships or financial aid, even though those were awarded for me to pay for college, despite graduating third in my high school class. Nonetheless, I graduated from Florida State University with 2 bachelor's degrees in the top 1% of my class. Thank you. But I still couldn't get a job because of my immigration status. I was stuck. But that's when the DACA program got introduced, and that is when my life began to change. With over 10 years since the inception of the DACA program, dreamers like myself have built our whole lives here. Imagine this. At the age of 22, pre-DACA in 2012, I couldn't work or drive, and my bike was my only mode of transportation. With DACA, by age 23, I was able to get a job as a software developer with General Motors and be able to buy my first home. By age 26, I owned 8 rental properties and achieved full financial independence. And now, by age 32, I own over 60 rental properties and own multiple million-dollar businesses. Thank you. And I've achieved all of this, because my dreams are bigger than my lack of papers. But I still believe that we still haven't achieved our full potential. I haven't achieved my full potential. And it is all because of the uncertainty of not knowing what the future holds. Living with constant fear that if the DACA program is ended, we can be deported. And there are more than 600,000 DACA recipients like myself who cannot fully contribute to their communities and achieve their true potential. And we are an asset to this country. We pay taxes just like all Americans do, and we are an integral part to the economy. Just last year, I paid over $180,000 in taxes, and DACA recipients have collectively paid over $11 billion into the economy. And even we've contributed and excelled, the long-term security of our stay here in this country has not. And dreamers have shown up endlessly with courage and determination for our rights to live free from fear and to stay here and together with our families. Passing legislation before the end of 2022, it's imperative, and it is the only way to ensure that our lives is not thrown into chaos. My home state Representative Senator Corden has made supportive statements for the Dreamers in the past. And I know that he knows that DACA recipients are contributing and boosting the Texas economy. We are small business owners, teachers, nurses. We have our families here and deep roots in our communities. So I hope that he joins the champion senators who are here by my side today to find a solution and make a deal this year. Only Congress can fix this, and we must pass a permanent legislative solution through a lame duck session because our lives depend on it. Our lives are on the line, and we must do it now. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say for the record that this dreamer, Diego Corso, pays more in income taxes than many major corporations in America. And he's a dreamer. So does he care about America? You bet he does, and we care about him. We also care about the next person I'm going to introduce. He's been a leader. He's been our really lighthouse when it came to avoiding the pitfalls and taking opportunities and moving forward with them. He's the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, our friend, and from the Senate Hispanic Caucus, a leader, Bob Menendez of New Jersey. Bob.
Thank you, Leader Durbin. I appreciate very much your leadership in this regard. Sorry to be a few minutes late. We were chairing a Foreign Relations Committee hearing. But I have to be honest with you. After listening to Diego, I think I'm a total failure. Felicidades, Diego. A fantastic story. I'm pleased to join my colleagues. I just wish there were some more, and from the other side here with us as well. As we take stock of after a historic midterm election, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have a choice to make. Republicans can continue to take radical and extreme positions to please their base, or they can do the right thing, as we did years ago when the Gang of Eight, Senator Durbin and I were part of that, passed comprehensive immigration reforms with people like the late Senator John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Marco Rubio, and others. We did the right thing. We got over 67 votes. It's time to do the right thing again. They can do that right thing and embrace immigration reform as common sense policy for our country. They can choose hate or division, or they can choose to relegate the former president and his failed movement to the dustbin of history. In short, they can hold fast to the MAGA ideas that have cost them in 3 straight election cycles, or they can come to the table in good faith and with goodwill to protect immigrants and unlock our nation's economic potential, the type of potential Diego just exhibited. Look, I recognize that as someone who has been in this struggle for nearly 30 years between the House and the Senate, I may not get everything I want in an immigration deal. But it is my hope that with the questions that Republicans are asking themselves today, we can have a sensible debate and a real solution. Right now, there is a window to move legislation that would protect all dreamers. There is a window to find common ground, whether it's on farm workers, effective border security, and more. All we need, and I don't say this in a partisan basis because, as I said, that Gang of Eight had 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats and got 67 votes. But sometimes you just have to speak the truth. All we need is for Republicans to find the political courage and willingness to finally fix a system we can all agree is broken. The same political courage they found earlier this year to begin to address gun violence. And to do that, they need to reject the anti-immigrant wing of their party and follow their colleagues who in the past have been willing to come to the table and draft a bipartisan deal. Like I said, we won't get everything, agree on everything, I should say, but we can agree on that. Because more than anything, these next few weeks offer us a chance at a fresh start. A fresh start towards protecting the largest possible universe of DACA recipients and dreamers, a fresh start towards more of the historic bipartisan agreements we achieved in the 117th Congress, a fresh start towards the kind of immigration system that we deserve, one that can fuel economic growth and do right by immigrants who just want a chance to fulfill the American dream. So let's be clear about the choice my colleagues have as we approach the end of this Congress. They can continue on a losing electoral strategy of demonizing immigrants, or we can work together to achieve a deal for the country. But 10 years after DACA was established, I want you to know this much. You have our commitment that dreamers and their families are here to stay. Dreamers and their families are here to stay. DACA and its recipients are not going anywhere. And we're going to fight like hell to protect the hundreds of thousands who are eligible for its protections, because I, for one, am not going to stop until the day we look into our undocumented farm workers, that we look into others and be able to say, and to every DACA recipient, every DACA eligible person, every dreamer, que estás en casa, nadie te va a mandar a ningún otro lugar, este es tu país, este es tu herencia, este es tu historia del futuro. Estamos aquí y no nos vamos a ningún lugar. Lo que nos hace falta es que nuestros colegas republicanos se unen con nosotros. Vamos a dejar el partidismo, vamos a dejar los comentarios anti-inmigrantes y vamos a crear una prosperidad mucho más mejor para nuestro país y para nuestra comunidad. Thank you very much.
Here to stay, 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 here to stay. Woo! I want to take a moment to say thank you to the Immigration Hub, Forward.us, SCIU, Lucha, many other partners here that have created the opportunity for us to be here together. We're opening now for questions from the press.
Will you attach Dreamer Relief to NDAA or Omnibus?
We're going to look for the right vehicle at the right moment, but I know the timing is this. We need to get it done before the end of the year.
So you're not leaving out the possibility of attaching it to a must-pass bill?
We'll be very practical and very strategic, and we won't announce it here.
Rafael? Yeah.
So wouldn't it be throwing it if you put it by itself, if you put up DACA by itself, is it kind of throwing it to the lions?
I don't think anyone has suggested that. We're looking at all options.
Yes.
Senator Menendez, when you tasked with doing immigration, you said you're hoping to get the 10 Republican votes that supported you in the past, and you told me a while ago they didn't come. You think they weren't coming, but after the election, you think now some of those Republicans are going to say, yes, we worked with you on immigration in the past, and do it again.
Well, look, it is our hope that some who did and some who have not but are willing to will join us. Senator Durbin has assiduously worked on having discussions with Republicans. I've sat in on many of those sessions. I think that pre-election there may have been a reticence to do anything. It is my hope that now that the American people have spoken, it's rather clear what they want to see in their government. And I think that the immigration issue, those who attempted to use it as a sword found that it was a dud. The reality is people want to see a reform that secures our country, that embraces our history as immigrants, that recognizes and rewards those who have worked hard, played by the rules, contributed to their communities and the nation, as Diego and so many of these other dreamers have. And so I hope that that's the realization they come to. And what better time to do it than in a lame duck period before you start a new session and the next cycle of thinking about elections happens. This is the time, and I hope they'll take advantage of it.
Can I add one point to that, Bob? I've had Republican senators approach me in the last few days and make it clear that they are interested in being part of this conversation. They are not the traditional Republican senators, and there are a handful of them that we've worked with over the years, but they're new faces. And some of them believe now that they are at a moment in their political careers when this is a possibility for them. I don't want to miss that opportunity. Finding 10 is difficult. I don't want to suggest it isn't, but we have some opportunity, as Bob said, in this lame duck session to do it.
Senator Durbin, in light of the Fifth Circuit's ruling on this issue, what do you believe is at stake if you all aren't willing to make a deal with those 10 Republicans to pass this before the end of the lame duck?
Well, are you talking about the decision on DACA?
Yes.
Oh, okay. There was a D.C. Circuit decision yesterday as well. Let's be honest about it. We don't know what the timing will be in the court. We may wake up one morning and find out that things have changed dramatically. Shame on us if we don't seize this opportunity now to solve the problem.
Senator Durbin, on the D.C. court decision from last night, are you anticipating hearing from Republicans on Title 42 and that being a deal breaker for them in negotiations?
Well, it's going to be part of the conversation. I can't say where it's going to end, but that decision by the court has to be taken into consideration.
Okay, we're closed for question and answer. Thank you so much for everyone for coming, and thank you to both senators for your continued support of our communities. ¿Se puede? Sí, se puede. Right.
Nice to meet you. Hi, Carlo. Nice to meet you.
So, is this the beginning of the time? What do you do?
So I'm still a registered nurse. So my daughter was there. I thought you could
I think John Coleman was on the floor.
Yeah. I loved it.
I'm in the same city in Houston. I'm a paramedic. You shared my story in 2017. I was a paramedic helping during Harvey, and you showed our pictures up on the floor. It's such a wonderful moment. Being a champion for us. Yes. Yes. Thank you so much for being a champion of our community.
My name is Rolina with NTD. So on the immigration issue in general, we've noticed that Republicans and Democrats come together on reforming the asylum system. Is this something that